just the outcome of an investigation. It's beyond his powers, in particular in an organization that's like IPID, which is a creature of the Constitution.
So in that matter, the High Court had set aside your suspension,
That's correct.
or had ruled that it was invalid and unconstitutional, and that the minister didn't have the powers to suspend you
That's correct.
because of the independence of IPID.
Yes.
The matter was escalated to the Constitutional Court, which is Annexure RJM2,
3 p.m. on The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga as we explore the stories, lessons, and conversations that guide us back to self.
On the top stories, McBride appears before Parliament's ad hoc committee and Australia's Parliament to approve changes to gun legislation. For SAFM News, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good day. Former Independent Police Investigative Directorate head Robert McBride's appearance before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating criminality in the criminal justice system got off to a tense start, with him telling the committee that he submitted an old CV. He further refused to provide details of his current employer, saying that there's an act that prohibits him from stating where he works. McBride was responding to questions from the committee's evidence leader.
So perhaps if we could kick off by way of introduction, your current employment?
I'm not allowed to say what my employment is.
Yeah, but you still in the public service?
No, sir.
You're not in the
That is an old CV that's there, yes.
Okay. Your CV is attached as RJM1, and you say that that's an outdated CV?
Yes, sir.
Gauteng police have arrested the 22-year-old scholar transport driver who was involved in the crash that claimed the lives of 12 learners in Vanderbijl Park yesterday. He was arrested after he was discharged from hospital last night. Gauteng police spokesperson Mavela Masondo says he is expected to appear before the Vanderbijl Park Magistrate Court within 48 hours, facing charges of 12 counts of culpable homicide and reckless and negligent driving.
It can be confirmed that 12 learners died at the accident scene, and 5 were taken to the nearest hospitals, of which 1 has since been discharged. The driver of the truck that was involved in the accident escaped unharmed, while the passenger sustained injuries and was receiving treatment in hospital. Investigations are underway as police continue to obtain witness statements.
Meanwhile, emergency services in Ekurhuleni have confirmed that 3 learners were hospitalized following a crash involving their scholar transport and a light motor vehicle. EMS spokesperson William Tladi says rescue teams were dispatched to the scene this morning to render assistance. 2 people accused of smuggling 33 undocumented children into Zimbabwe through the Beitbridge border post have appeared in the Musina Magistrates Court in Limpopo. They are accused Zimbabwean national Decent Chokwamba and Risenga Makenza had their case postponed to Thursday for profiling and bail application. They are accused of smuggling undocumented children and contravening the immigration laws. NPA spokesperson Mashudu Malabi.
2 Zimbabwean nationals appeared in Musina Magistrate Court for aiding illegal immigration and contravening immigration laws. The accused persons were arrested by Border Management Authority officials following the allegation of loading 33 undocumented minor children into a Toyota Quantum with the intention of departing the Republic of South Africa to Zimbabwe. Matter postponed to 22 January 2026.
The lower house of Australia's Parliament has voted to approve changes to the country's gun legislation. The bill was passed by the House of Representatives and will now make its way to the Senate, where it's expected to pass. The BBC's Ketty Watson has the details.
So that looks at tighter restrictions on firearm licence applications as well as a national gun buyback scheme. Now, the last scheme that we saw happen like that was nearly 30 years ago after the Port Arthur massacre. So that's, a huge deal for a country that sees itself as already having quite strict gun laws. This idea of buying back guns, there are more guns in Australia than there were at the time of Port Arthur. So people perhaps might be surprised by that.
Recapping the top story, former Independent Police Investigative Directorate head Robert McBride's appearance before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating criminality in the criminal justice system got off to a tense start, with him telling the committee he submitted an old CV. I'm Ondilambwana for SFM News. Headlines at 1:30.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.6 FM in Bloemfontein. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
that's dying here. The bird that flew in through my window simply lost his way. He broke his wing, I helped him heal, and then he flew away. Well, the death of love is everywhere, but I won't let it be. There will be no love that's dying here for me. There will be no love that's dying here. The mirror that fell from the wall was raggedy, that's all. It rests up on a rusty nail before it made us fall. Well, the bones of love are everywhere, but I won't let it be. There will be no love that's dying here for me. There will be no love that's dying here. For flowers in my Asian faces, not a sign we're dead. I paid for 3, a sweet old lady gave me 4 instead. There's some doubt that's out about this love, but I won't let it be. There will be no love that's dying here for me. There will be no love that's dying here. The bird that flew in through my window simply lost his way. He broke his wings, I helped him heal, and then he flew away. Well, the death of love is everywhere, but I won't let it be. There will be no love that's dying here for me. No, there will be no love that's dying for me. There will be no love that's dying for you and me. Oh, there will be no love dying here. No, not for me. There will be no love that's dying here. No, there will be no love that's dying here. No, 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 no.
A little something sultry, something smooth to begin the day with. Gregory Porter coming through with No Love Dying Here. And this one came out in 2013. It stemmed from his album. What was the album? There it goes slipping my tongue. There it goes slipping my tongue. But I'll remember it in no time whatsoever. Getting Through It was the name of that album. Gregory Porter, a frequent visitor to South Africa. He loves his fans and his fans love him. Good afternoon to you. Welcome to it. It is The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, as we continue the conversations here that move the nation on SAFM. We'll jump back into that parliamentary ad hoc committee that's currently sitting in Cape Town with IPID's Robert McBride, a former IPID's Robert McBride, still giving testimony in front of those parliamentarians. They just have taken a quick lunch break, and then once they are back, we will jump straight into it. For now, though, we're going to use this time, as we usually do, to focus on other matters, a conversation that's still continuing in the country on the back of that horrific accident that happened at Vanderbijl Park yesterday, seeing the students, the scholars who perished, and conversation is around scholar transportation. As schools reopen across the country, the South African Human Rights Commission has released a damning final report that is actually exposing systemic failures in the scholar transport program in the Northwest Province. And so we'll unpack that with a human rights lawyer and the provincial manager of the Northwest at the South African Human Rights Commission. Would also like to hear your thoughts around matters of scholar transportation. Perhaps you have got some ideas as to how we better monitor and have the necessary oversight on those services. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line, and 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on. And then also coming up today, we're going to have a health and wellness focus, and we're looking at Cervical Health Awareness Month and confronting a preventable crisis that is affecting South African women. That conversation is coming up a little bit later. It's just gone 1:10. A quick pause, and then we come back.
The heavyweights of Algerian football, CRB, are on a real hunt for their second win. Meanwhile, Stellies want to maintain their unbeaten run in Group C to remain on the top. This is the CAF Confederation Cup. CR Belouizdad versus Stellenbosch FC this Sunday, 25 January at 8 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Also available on SABC radio stations at 9 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
As we celebrate 90 years of existence, SAFM takes you back to the voices that shaped a nation.
Tolani Gwala will be back again for you 6 to 9 Monday here on SAFM.
And
thanks, Tolani. Good morning and welcome to Morning Talk with me, Kim Gabadeli.
The name is Bonge Kwala. Good to be with you till midday today. Let's engage South Africa.
Welcome to Morning Talk on SAFM, South Africa's news and information leader, with me, Rowena Bird.
90 years of trusted voices. This is SAFM. Wherever you are in the world, SAFM 104 to 107 is accessible. We're also streaming live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAFM Radio. We acknowledge and appreciate everyone tuning in and watching our streams. Stay with SAFM 104 to 107 as we bring you commission live, breaking stories, and thought-provoking lectures. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Bridget Masinga is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
All right, we are catching up with Shirley Mlombo now, who's the human rights lawyer and provincial manager at Northwest at the South African Human Rights Commission. And of course, schools have opened across the country, and the Human Rights Commission has released a damning final report that is exposing systemic failures in the scholar transport program, particularly in the Northwest. But I wonder if we were to do this kind of data analysis across the provinces, what would the state of scholar transportation be if you look at provinces like the Eastern Cape, if you look at provinces like KwaZulu-Natal and even Gauteng here? Shirley, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to your listeners.
I'm good. Thank you so much for the time. Much appreciated. Before let's get to what necessitated the Human Rights Commission to actually undertake this report.
The commission, through its monitoring mandate, has over the years been conducting monitoring activities at school to assess the state of compliance with human rights standards and norms. And one of the things that we look out for when we are doing monitoring at school is issues around the scholar transport, sufficiency of scholar transport, safety issues around scholar transport, as well as reliability of scholar transport. And the schools, some of the schools we're visiting, the theme of challenges around scholar transport kept reoccurring. And also we have received reports and complaints from members of the public who also are raising concerns about scholar transport challenges in the communities where they live. And as a result of these issues, then we decided to conduct this investigation. And as part of that investigation, we invited more submissions from members of the public, stakeholders in the education sector, who echoed the initial concerns that were raised with us.
Let's talk about what those initial challenges and perhaps concerns look like as weighed in by the various stakeholders, whether it be parents, community, and perhaps at some point even school administrators as well.
The concerns are many, but the major concerns that have been raised with us is safety of scholar transport, concerns about the ongoing use of unroadworthy vehicles for scholar transport purposes, the unreliability of scholar transport in many schools, with many schools reporting that transport regularly breaks down, resulting in learners being late for school or being collected late from school. And also overcrowding is a common theme in the complaints that we are receiving. And also there are schools who indicate to us that they had learners who were supposed to be receiving scholar transport, but they were no longer receiving scholar transport. So these are some of the issues, including supervision of learners during transit of scholar transport, amongst other issues that came up.
By and large, I don't have a child in school, and obviously once I do, I have the benefits of privilege of a private vehicle. But by and large, who undertakes scholar transport? I know that in conversations, I've obviously learned that there's scholar transport that is provided for by the respective districts to some degree, and some that is catered for by individual parents for the collective, like Abo Malumes Mangmang, who run a taxi. So who oversees both those two different variations of scholar transport services? Is there a body that's meant to ensure that all these issues you raise around safety, reliability, vehicle maintenance, etc., are adhered to and kept to standard?
Yes. In terms of the applicable policies, the national, my apologies, the Northwest Provincial Department of Community Safety and Transport, as well as the Department of Education, have a responsibility of providing transport. That will be your state-sponsored transport, and that is mostly for your indigent persons who cannot afford to make their own transportation means. And so that transport must be administered and must be funded by the state. And our investigations, for the large part, focus on state-sponsored transportation, the management and the issues around that, the overcrowding, use of unroadworthy vehicles. But as part of the submissions that were made, I recall there was one community member who also then put the issue of private scholar transport into sharp focus, the issue of noise in scholar transport, again, the lack of regulation, because it appears that whilst the state-sponsored transport is fairly regulated, the private scholar transport, it seems like it's free for all. And that's one of the concerns we raise in our report, that space also needs to be regulated, so that it's not just anybody who can get into that space. Because one of the people raised the issue of young boys, out of high school, they are taxi drivers and they are transporting their peers to schools, which also raises safety concerns. So you raise an important issue. Both spaces need to be properly regulated.
It's interesting that obviously you say a large part of your investigation was focusing on the state-funded and administered transport, where even there there seems to have been cause for concern around the state of that transportation, as much as it is heavily regulated, as you say.
Yes, because the major issue is enforcement. Yes, in our investigation, we found that there were gaps in policies, but even where there were clear policy provisions, we found that enforcement was lacking or inconsistent, resulting in service providers, taking advantage of the situation and perpetuating the challenges that we have observed.
We are in conversation with Shirley Mlombo, rather. My apologies, Shirley. Please feel free to be a part of the conversation as a parent, as a community member. 061-410-4107, 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on. And of course, you can always find me on social media as well, on X at Bridget Masinga, hashtag the full circle, as we have this conversation around the state of scholar transportation, particularly focused on the investigation that was conducted by the South African Human Rights Commission in the Northwest Province. And might I ask, Shirley, why particularly an investigation in the Northwest Province? Was there something that sort of sparked greater concern in that province versus perhaps the Commission looking at all provinces or isolating certain regions?
We focus on the Northwest because our jurisdiction, at least my jurisdiction, is in the Northwest. So in terms of, the issues in other provinces, is for those provinces to assess the need of a similar investigation in their provinces. But I must indicate that at a national level, there was a research study undertaken which indicates that there are other issues, similar issues in other provinces, which may warrant further investigation as may be determined by those provinces.
Part of the report highlights the fact, part of your extensive investigation and subsequently the report highlights a widespread rights violation that left thousands of learners without safe and reliable transportation. And you'll state that these failures forced children to walk long distances, miss classes or drop out entirely, while others endured unsafe, overcrowded and poorly regulated transport conditions. You have proposed, of course, some urgent remedial actions that are needed to protect learners. What might those look like?
Firstly, we have requested an update report on further work that has been done since the 25th of October, which is the date that we received the last update from the departments, because we're led to understand that there is work that has been done to address some of those issues. So we are first asking for an update report. And secondly, we have asked them that we be provided with a time-bound plan for resolving the issues that is raised of overcrowding, strengthening of monitoring, strengthening of enforcement measures, including establishment of complaints reporting system, because in many cases communities have observed these scholar transport, but they don't know where they can go to report to ensure that the issues are addressed. So these are some of the remedial measures that we are requesting be taken, the clearing of backlogs and paying of service providers, because we know that non-payment of service providers contributes to the challenges we have, because service providers have told us that because we are not paid, we cannot service our cars, we cannot get our vehicles to a state where they are safe for transportation of learners. So we have basically requested a comprehensive plan, and that is time-bound, that is costed, that we can monitor as a Human Rights Commission to assess progress over time in addressing the issues that we have identified.
Also interesting, whilst you are on the subject of funds and the money, as much as you say that you have registered, of course, the complaints of service providers who say that because their invoices have not been fulfilled, they've not been in a position to service their vehicles and keep them up to safety regulations and standards. But also then on the converse is the fact that I read here that funds, including payments exceeding 1 billion rand to service providers for services, was not rendered.
Yes, there were audit reports that were issued in relation to this program for a number of years, which indicated that service providers were not were paid for service that is not rendered. And of course, we questioned the officials on this because, as you've rightly indicated, you cannot say in one breath you don't have money and still have these damning audit reports, not just for 1 year, but a number of years, resulting in the amount accumulating into the figure that you've indicated. For us, there was a need for urgent or decisive steps to have been taken to avert the loss of these funds. But we are advised that the matter is receiving attention. We understand that the SIU is looking very closely into why service providers were paid for services not rendered. We will be watching keenly the outcome of that investigation and the recommendations that are made. But really, it will be good, if possible, if those amounts can be recouped and channeled back into this program, which is chronically underfunded.
Yeah. I want to get a word in from our listeners as well. 0614104107 and 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on. Let's go to WhatsApp.
School transport is a serious problem in South Africa. I mean, you've got children that are living in the townships and are using school transport because they're studying in other townships or because they're studying in town. And they're using minibus taxis or, the big buses that are sponsored by government, by the Department of Education. So you worry every day when you've got those children who have to travel to other areas for school because you don't know if they will come back alive because of the reckless driving that takes place in South Africa. And also you've got children, like in my community, you've got your formal houses, opposite it's the shacks. Those kids, they have to cross every day to come to school to my side. You have pedestrian crossings, but private motorists and taxi drivers won't stop for them. And there's been, last year, there's been 3 or 2 were knocked while they were going to write exams, because of the intolerance of motorists. So it's a serious problem in South Africa. Reckless driving, it just goes on and on and on.
Hi, good day, ma'am. This is Flores from the beautiful Western Cape. Let me tell you, I think first and foremost, a lot of us are talking about roadworthiness, PDP licenses, advanced driving skills, but it all boils down to driver behavior. A lot of people are just driving recklessly. Not only the taxi drivers or truck drivers or bus drivers, but also normal people with normal cars. So our behavior needs to be changed, and then we need to have strict punishments for people who transgress. That's it, period. Have a good job, bye-bye.
Good afternoon, I was Bridget, it's Fred and Shaka here in KZN. I was Bridget. Condolences to the families that lost their families. We can have all the commissions wherever, but the bottom line is, as drivers on the roads, we are all governed by one thing, which is the K53. We all learned how to drive. If we all adhere to that, we don't need all these commissions. We won't even need law enforcement because this is what we are applying. This is what we have learned. When you are driving on the road, you don't overtake on a solid line. You don't overtake recklessly. These are the things that we already learned. You can have a roadworthy car, a roadworthy truck, a roadworthy bus, a roadworthy V-class for that matter. If you don't follow the rules of the road, we're going to have disasters like this. We need to educate people to drive properly.
Yeah, and that seems to be the crux of the matter across all of our listeners this afternoon, is that ultimately it boils down to us, the individual drivers. And I can't say either one of them are wrong about those observations. That's the cold, hard, painful truth, is that we are reckless and we are intolerable on the road, and we are inconsiderate and we are impatient, and we do put the lives of innocent children and innocent other motorists and passengers and pedestrians and bystanders at risk every single day. Shirley, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today, but I appreciate yours. That was Shirley Mlombo, a human rights lawyer and provincial manager for the Northwest at the South African Human Rights Commission. It's 1:30. Ondela is standing by with the headline news.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines, 2 people have been killed and several others injured following a shooting at the Booysens Magistrates Court south of Johannesburg earlier today. Former Independent Police Investigative Directorate head Robert McBride's appearance before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating criminality in the criminal justice system got off to a tense start, with him telling the committee that he submitted an old CV. And the British government is launching consultations into children's social media use as it considers whether it should introduce an Australian-style age ban for under 16s. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
If we have rights, shouldn't we also have opinions? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Bridget Masinga is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
It's gone 1:30, and I couldn't agree. You know, Ondela just ran that piece about the government considering whether or not to implement that Australian ban for children under 16 to be on social media. We've been having this conversation on my show in December, if you happen to be around listening to radio, if you weren't on a radio hiatus. And then we continue it also on the Jet Set Breakfast recently. You know, part of the problem, I think, with our leadership in South Africa, we have great ideas. We lack the urgency to implement immediately. Some things don't need a talk shop. We don't need to sit around skulume in parliament. We just need to do. Like, some things just need to be done. You just wake up and you go, actually, like, how many people do we need to take this vote? Hey, let's vote on it now and get it over and done with. Like, I just, you know what I mean? And the road thing, for that last conversation, remember when we had such stringent rules about using phones on the road? Stop by police. If you happen to be on your phone, you quickly drop your phone because you knew. How many times now when you're driving to work and to home and to your kids' school, when you look around, every other driver is on the phone, even though every other car now has that phone enabling audio where you can talk to the people in the car through the speaker. I have no idea what we're doing looking at our phones, but we still do it. Anyway, you and I can go on a tirade in a little bit. For now, let's catch up to Dr. Peli Malibi, who's the Global Scientific Communications Leader at Roche. And we're looking at Cervical Health Awareness Month, confronting what is a preventable crisis that is affecting South African women. The spotlight is falling once again on that disease that is both largely preventable, and yet it continues to claim the lives of thousands of women every year. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Peli. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Bridget. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for shedding the spotlight on cervical cancer and cervical health awareness as a whole.
Only a pleasure. We appreciate the time. You know, there's always somebody who needs just the base education of what we are talking about. I think maybe we take it for granted that every woman knows what cervical cancer is, but the reality is that we know that information doesn't always reach everybody. So maybe some context around what is cervical cancer.
Thank you so much. That is really true. And I think we should not take it for granted. Most of us hear about cervical cancer when one of our loved ones comes forward and says that I've been diagnosed with cervical cancer. And mostly in South Africa, it would be at a progressed level. So the cervix is part of the reproduction organ within a woman's body. And that is why the cervical cancer only affects women. It's just because of the physiology. Cervical cancer in its own is highly preventable because it's one of the cancers that is caused by a virus, the human papilloma virus. What does this mean? It means you're now not waiting to be diagnosed with stage 2, 3, or 4 cervical cancer. You can actually detect the virus early and then take measures to ensure that it does not develop into cancer. The various ways in which cervical cancer can be screened. And I use the word screened because within our African continent, we usually go in when we are symptomatic. Screening, you go in before you've seen any symptoms. Annually, and I will introduce a new technology in a bit, but I first want to start with what is known traditionally within South Africa, which is the pap smear. Most of us would go in annually to our gynecologist and receive the pap smear. Some of the time, we don't even know what they are searching. We just know we go in each year. The pap smear is there to detect and screen for cervical cancer. But over the years, they've been the gold standard, almost innovations within cervical cancer screening. And there's the introduction of the HPV DNA test. So you will recall I said cervical cancer is caused by the virus. Therefore, if you can detect the virus, you can catch it early and not wait to be diagnosed with cervical cancer. Now, when you go into your gynecologist, it is best to go in and request for the HPV DNA test. And the World Health Organization has put in measures. So for women living without HIV, you would go in for your screening every 5 to 10 years. Because it is so stringent and so accurate, you don't have to go in annually. And then for women living without HIV, you go in every 3 to 5 years.
Very interesting. Okay, I mean, I thought I was clued in on things, and maybe I owe my OBGYN a conversation to go. In the many tests that we did recently, did we happen to do an HPV DNA test? Tell us in terms of this test now, because obviously I think most women who've gone in either at a government facility or at a private facility and had, the old school traditional screening that we know by way of pap smear, we know what that looks like. Insert prong, take a little bit of a sample piece, go get it tested out. With the HPV DNA test, is it a simple blood draw?
Okay, that's a really great question, Bridget. And I really liked your commentary about, I need to go back to my gynecologist and ask if I've actually had an HPV DNA test. And that's why these conversations are very, very important, because we as women need to be empowered. We don't always have to hand over our healthcare to the healthcare practitioner. So these conversations allow us to now know that there is better technology. I now go into my gynecologist's office for my annual checkup and I say, can you please include an HPV DNA test? That's the point of today, because the gynecologist would traditionally give you a pap smear and call for you to come in within the next year. But you should be empowered and you should be making the request if the gynecologist is not offering it up front. And then back to your question around what is the collection method? The collection method is exactly the same as your pap smear. So it's exactly as you described. It is an insertion of a collection brush, and they collect along the cervix and then take it through to the lab. The difference occurs at the lab, where the lab for a pap smear would use a microscope to look if the cells in your body are changing. And then the HPV DNA test would look if you're in fact infected with HPV. And there's where the difference even lies on a scientific and a human level. If on a pap smear you're looking for changes in your cells, you already know that you're looking for the disease. Whereas if you're looking for the infection itself, you're not looking for progression of the disease, you're looking at your level of risk.
Okay, makes perfect sense. I want us to just pause here, Dr. Pelly. We'll come back on the other side of this commercial break and we'll continue our conversation. It is Cervical Health Awareness Month, and we're spotlighting cervical cancer, which affects South African women worldwide. And we'll find out more about the care and prevention methods and approaches that are now in place.
Wondering why 45-year-old Nivan has such a big smile lately?
Outsurance. Saved me so much money. 461 rand.
That's right. With Outsurance, Nivan saves an amazing 461 Rand a month on his 2025 VWT Cross. And after 3 claim-free years, he gets an out bonus.
So much money.
How much money could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
I don't love going to school. I don't love sitting in a classroom with 50 other children. But I do love learning. Ndiyakuthanda ukufunda isiXhosa as a language. I do love getting good grades. I do love UCT Online High School because I do love my future. Apply online before the 26th of January.
What if your child could achieve better academic results in 2026? At Teneo School, they can. Our smart school system tracks every learner in real time and helps teachers spot gaps early. The results? With over 3,500 successful Teneo School matriculants, learners improve their average marks by 12% in the first year. Access affordable private schooling, no restrictive entry, fees starting from 3,000 Rand per month. Enroll now for 2026 at teneoschool.co.za. That's TENEO school.co.za.
If we have rights, shouldn't we also have opinions? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
All right, Mzansi's Powerball has skyrocketed to an epic, wait for it, sit down, 177 million rand. That's the estimated jackpot this Tuesday. That's today, by the way. The second highest ever reported jackpot in Ituba's history. Play now and you could win big, just like Friday's Powerball Plus winner who bagged over 33 million via the National Lottery platform. Buy your tickets now in store or via the nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking, or you can dial star 120 star 7529 hash for USSDs. Panda Pusher Play players must be 18 years or older and play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
Cannot fathom 177 million. I'll not come to work. As the serious conversation continues with Dr. Peli Malibi, who is the Global Scientific Communications Leader at Roshan. We're talking about Cervical Health Awareness Month. And we were speaking, Doc, around obviously the advancements and the new test, the HPV DNA test. If you're just now jumping into your car, a very important test that can be done to prevent, or rather to detect cervical cancer early on. So we don't have to rely on the pap smear alone. There's been advancements in as far as that conversation is concerned. But now let's look at care, because also maybe let me ask the question around prevention. We speak about cervical cancer being preventable. What does prevention look like here? Is it preventable because of us being able to quickly screen and see whether or not you are at risk, or preventable in the sense that there's something that we can do proactively?
Yeah, okay, very good question. So it is the initial statement that you put. Cervical cancer, the HPV virus in itself is transmissible through skin-to-skin interactions. So it's highly transmissible. And most of us would have been infected by it at some stage of our lives. 90 to 70% of HPV DNA infections do clear naturally on their own. It is the remaining 10 to or 30% going down that do have the chance of becoming cervical cancer. Therefore, it's preventable in that detecting it early, detecting the infection early, does not have to lead to cervical cancer. Identifying when your cells start to transform and getting the measures in place, the treatments. So there are treatments in place if the cells within the cervix start to change, where it can be excised. And this prevents it from then going further into the body and even reaching other organs within the body. because that's when cancer becomes the danger. So that's number one. The prevention is through screening for us women. And then for our daughters, our nieces, children, girls under 12 years old, there is a vaccine, an HPV DNA vaccine, where the girl child is then vaccinated, and then she would not then progress into cervical cancer at later stages.
Oh, interesting. So when is my tentacles just went up a little bit because obviously I'm at vaccinating stages with my baby at 7 months. So is that part of the vaccination schedules? I know that if you've had a baby, you see all the different vaccines you must have at different times. Would the HPV vaccine be part of that?
Yes, it is. It would be on your vaccination schedule. And even for boys within the private sector, your boys would be able to get the vaccine because they are at risk of being spreaders, although they are not at risk of getting cervical cancer because physiologically they do not have a cervix, but they can be carriers of HPV and then infect other women.
I see.
So therefore, it would be on your list and within the public sector, the government is offering vaccinations at schools, at school level for girls under 12. And the private sector, you have the option to take your girl child to one of the large pharmacy chains.
Yes.
And you yourself as well, for the adult woman listening, if you're 30 and above, there's the option to go in, because I do understand that the collection itself is very invasive, that we described earlier before the ad break. It is invasive. So there's the option of self-sampling. You can have an at-home self-sampling where they send you the brush and you collect at home and send it back to the lab, and they would bring you in your results. Or you go to the large pharmacy chains available throughout South Africa where they have in-house clinics, and there they have the self-sampling option where you collect your own sample and that is submitted to the lab. Once you test negative, you then have the option to also receive the vaccine as a grown woman.
Interesting. Okay. You're putting a lot of things, I thought I was clued in on a lot of things, but now you're putting a lot of other thoughts in my head that I need to follow up on my health to-do list for the year, like looking into this vaccine or whether or not in somewhere in my history I might have had it and maybe I've forgotten. So that's definitely something to look out for. Barriers that prevent women from accessing screening. I know one thing, though. It's this whole conversation also around pap smears. And sometimes people just don't feel comfortable going in for them. And weirdly enough, it almost seems like every other OBGYN is a man. So sometimes women feel uncomfortable going into those spaces.
That is really true. It is the empowerment aspect of it, and that is where the self-sampling comes in, where you have the option to go and collect your own sample, and that breaks the barrier towards empowerment. And there's cultural barriers as well in other parts of our continent where a woman won't necessarily be allowed traditionally to go in and have her sample collected by a man, and that self-sampling comes in for access. But looking more closely within our country, barriers could also just be awareness. I think number one is awareness. Yeah. And I myself, before being educated and introduced to cervical cancer within the workspace, I myself was unaware. So I think awareness on a South African level is incredibly high, lack of awareness as a barrier. And that's why these conversations are so important. The other would be just the practicality of it all. Traditionally or originally within South Africa, pap smear was put as the primary screening route. But more recently, I think a big shout out to the South African government in this aspect. They have updated the guidelines to put HPV DNA testing as the primary screening route, which then means that women, even in the public sector who do not have access to private healthcare, have access to the gold standard. By updating the guidelines, they've also introduced the HPV DNA test within the laboratories. And the beauty of this is what we currently have, the infrastructure in South Africa, because of our high HIV burden, we do have the infrastructure for DNA testing. The HIV viral load machines are there within
Dr. Pili, I'm so sorry to interrupt you at that very, very important note, but we have to leave it there for today as we're chasing time. But we appreciate you and we appreciate the information shared today. That was Dr. Pili Malebi, Global Scientific Communications Leader at Roche. It's fast approaching 10 to 2 o'clock.
When you train for results, you don't quit halfway. Earn up to 7.35% interest with a Nedbank Just Invest account. Access your money within 24 hours. Keep your money agile. Get money fit with Nedbank. See money differently. Nedbank. For more information, visit nedbank.co.za. We're licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
From the shows that bring us laughter to the moments that inspire us, your SABC TV license makes it all possible. Every license paid supports local stories, top talent, and the programs that unite South Africa. Pay your TV license today. Visit tvlic.co.za or your nearest retail outlet. Hashtag your screen, your story. Together, we make it happen.
Extra your study potential with free gifts from Vodacom. Like the Huawei Pura 80 Pro from just $889 per month over 36 months on a 3 gig red core plan. Comes with a free Huawei Watch Fit 4 worth $2,999. Plus, get 5 gigs YouTube data for 3 months and 2 months free YouTube Premium. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
There are routines we all love. Morning and night skincare routines, exercise routines, even new routines like meal prep, journaling, and chemo. That last one hit differently, didn't it? The truth is, over 99% of cervical cancer cases are linked to the human papillomavirus. So if you're a woman between 15 and 44, act now. Ask your healthcare provider about the HPV vaccine. This message was brought to you by MSD.
In a world of noise, one thing is still clear. Aquele. Introducing the new, still-flavored range from Aquele. Lemon mint, mango passion fruit, blueberry raspberry, peach apricot. Still made from Aquele's 100% natural spring water. Delicious, high in vitamins, low in kilojoules, and still full of joy. It's new, it's refreshing, it's flavored, it's still Aquele.
This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Hello friends and happy Tuesday. Today let's talk about school uniforms. Why do you think schools ask learners to wear a uniform? How does wearing the same uniform help everyone feel equal at school? How do you feel when your school uniform is clean and worn neatly? What do you think wearing your school uniform properly says about you and your school? And how can wearing your uniform neatly help you take school more seriously? Alright friends, let's share our thoughts and learn together on this Tuesday.
Hello everyone, my name is Matimba Kosa. I'm 6 years old. I go to Jagas Christian Academy School. Schools ask learners to wear uniform to promote equality and reduce peer pressure. Wearing uniform helps everyone feel equal. I feel proud and a sense of belonging when I wear my uniform neatly and correctly. Wearing uniform properly says I'm disciplined and my school is professional. Wearing school uniform helps me take school seriously by fostering discipline.
Hi everyone, my name is Yolanda Mzabe. I am 12 years old. I think schools ask learners to wear uniform to represent the school, and if a learner gets lost, they could tell which school is that learner from and take them or the learner there. Wearing the same uniform could help everyone feel equal at school because everyone will look the same and beautiful and no one will have peer pressure. I feel very neat and girly when my uniform is clean and worn neatly. Wearing a uniform represents your school. Wearing your uniform neatly could help you take school more seriously because that shows that you love school. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, beautiful people of Mzansi. My name is Lubanzi Shangwane. I believe schools ask learners to wear uniforms because it makes everyone look the same and feel included. And I don't know about you guys, but I really do believe that it makes you look very neat and makes the whole school look neat, because it wouldn't be neat when everyone is wearing like different things, different colors. It would just look very busy and untidy. So I believe school uniform is the best way. It looks very neat and very organized. I feel like wearing the same uniform helps everyone feel equal at school, because when you wear the same uniform, no one feels left out because everyone is wearing the same thing. You can't really have any comparisons because you're wearing the same dress that I'm wearing, you're wearing the same school shoes that I'm wearing. So it's very impossible to make comparisons. And it also just eliminates unnecessary pressures, because if we weren't wearing uniform and we were wearing clothes from home, obviously some people might wear more expensive clothes than others, and then you're just dealing with a lot of pressure because you also want to look like other kids. But obviously our financial backgrounds aren't the same, so it was just going to be a whole mess. It's going to be a lot of pressure to you and your parents, and you're just not going to feel okay. You're not going to feel really confident at school, which is really important. So I believe it eliminates all of those unnecessary pressures, and it makes you focus on why you're actually there, and that is to learn. When my uniform is clean and worn neatly, I feel very proud, very confident, and I just feel very pretty. I don't know about you guys, but I really like my uniform, and I love the way I look in it. And yeah, I feel very confident in it, and I love it so much. I feel like wearing my uniform properly shows that I respect myself and my school. And my school is always emphasizing the fact that you should wear and present yourself in your uniform properly, because when you're outside, you're not only representing yourself, but you're representing the school, and you're trying to give the school a good name. So I feel exactly like that. I feel like wearing your uniform properly does exactly that. It gives people the impression that you respect yourself and that you come from a very good and well-grounded school.
Schools ask learners to wear uniforms so everyone looks the same and feels equal. Uniforms stop teasing about clothes. When my uniform is clean, I feel proud and ready to learn. Wearing it neatly shows respect for myself, my school, and helps me take school seriously.
Yes, we still wear uniform at my school. I would love to go to a school without uniform, but I'll get tired of looking for clothes to wear for school every day. So I prefer school with uniform. The good of uniform is that you don't have to struggle to find something to wear to school every day. The good of not wearing uniforms is that you don't have to wear the same thing 5 days a week for 6 hours straight. I don't really think it's a good idea that schools are adapting to no uniform wearing, because they can get their clothes dirty. They can get dress coded and they won't be representing their school.
Hello everybody, my name is Tulifelo Moeng, and at my school we wear uniforms and our uniform is flexi. But I do feel like we should all wear uniforms in our schools, because I feel like some kids are gonna envy other kids when their parents buy them fancy new clothes, and other kids won't have nice fancy clothes such as other kids. I think it's a good idea for us to wear school uniform to symbolize the school, represent our school, and also shows pride and belonging and dedication and dignity to the school. If we don't wear uniform, some kids might not have the cool clothes that they want because their parents can't afford them, and that's not gonna feel nice for them, because they're gonna see other kids with nice clothes and they're gonna start to envy those kids, which is not
good for their social development. We still wear uniforms in our school. I prefer the school with uniform because everyone will be wearing the same thing and it will look super duper neat. The good of wearing uniform is that it makes the school look neat and it encourages teamwork. I think schools should not wear uniforms because you can be comfortable and you can wear what you like at the same time. Thank you for listening and goodbye for now.
Thank you, friends. It's always great to hear from you. School uniforms are an important part of school life because they help create order, pride, and a sense of belonging. When learners wear a uniform, it reminds them that school is a place for learning. When we wear uniform as learners, it helps remind us that school is a place for learning, growth, and respect. Uniforms helps us as children shift our mindset from home or playtime into learning time, preparing our minds and attitudes for the school day ahead. Wearing the same school uniform helps us as learners feel equal and included. It reduces pressure about fashion, brands, or expensive clothes, allowing us as children to focus on our schoolwork and friendships instead. When everyone dresses the same, learners are more likely to treat one another fairly and kindly, which helps build a peaceful and supportive school environment. A clean and neatly worn uniform has a powerful effect on how a learner feels. When children look neat, they often feel more confident, organized, and proud of themselves. This confidence can help them participate more in class, follow instructions better, and believe in their ability to do well at school. Wearing a uniform properly also shows respect for the school, for teachers, and for oneself. It tells others that a learner understands responsibility and values their education. Neatness and discipline go hand in hand, and these habits help children develop self-control and good decision-making skills that will help them both inside and outside of the classroom. Taking school seriously starts with small daily habits, and wearing a uniform neatly is one of them. When learners make an effort to dress properly, they are more likely to take pride in their work, listen attentively, and try their best. Over time, these small actions build strong character, confidence, and a positive attitude towards learning. A school uniform is not just something learners wear. A school uniform is not just something that learners wear. It represents respect, equality, responsibility, and a promise to do their best every day at school. That's it for today, friends. See you next time.
On the top stories, 2 killed in a shooting at Boyson's Magistrate Court and McBride before Parliament's ad hoc committee. For SAFM News, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good day. 2 people have been killed and several others injured following a shooting at the Boyson's Magistrates Court south of Johannesburg earlier today. A heavy police presence has been deployed outside the court, Leanda Danga reports.
It is understood that a lawyer was among those shot outside the court premises. The motive for the shooting remains unclear at this stage. Police officials are still inside the court receiving a briefing. The scene remains active and cordoned off with police officials still briefed on the incident. For SABC News, I'm Leanda Danga in Johannesburg.
First State Police have arrested a 39-year-old foreign national for allegedly being in possession of rhino horns, unpolished diamonds and gold in his vehicle in Vicksburg. Police spokesperson Thabo Govane says the suspect was stopped during an early hours morning crime prevention operation. He is expected to appear in the Vicksburg Magistrates Court soon.
The police pulled over a white Toyota Alphard in Einde Street near a filling station at about 2:15. A search was conducted and members found a parcel wrapped with brown sticky packaging tape inside the boot of the vehicle. The 39-year-old driver was asked to account and he informed the police that he was requested to transport the parcel from Johannesburg to Maseru. The police unwrapped the parcel and inside found 4 horns believed to be that of a rhino, a Ziploc plastic with 50 suspected unpolished diamonds.
Former Independent Police Investigative Directorate head Robert McBride's appearance before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating criminality in the criminal justice system got off to a tense start, with him telling the committee that he submitted an old CV. He further refused to provide details of his current employer, saying that there's an act that prohibits him from stating where he works. McBride was responding to questions from the committee's evidence leader.
So perhaps if we could kick off by way of introduction, your current employment?
I'm not allowed to say what my employment is.
Yeah, but you still in the public service?
No, sir.
You're not in the
That is an old CV that's there, yes.
Okay. Your CV is attached as RJM1, and you say that that's an outdated CV?
Yes, sir.
An unroadworthy bus travelling from Malawi to Gauteng has been intercepted on the N1 outside Bulugwane in Limpopo. Transport Department spokesperson Matome Daudzeatsula says the bus was short of 2 wheels and has a copied disc that does not correspond with the vehicle identification number plate. Daudzeatsula says the bus posed a risk to passengers and other road users.
The operating license had expired on July 31, 2025. Compounding the safety concerns, 2 wheels on the driving aisle's axle were missing, rendering the vehicle unroadworthy. The driver and operator will face further investigation and action.
The British government is launching consultations into children's social media use as it considers whether it should introduce an Australian-style age ban for under-16s. Options under consideration will also include tougher enforcement for schools. The BBC's Zoe Kleinman has the details.
Blocking British children's access to social media and restricting addictive features such as streaks, which count your daily interactions with an app, and infinite scrolling, where the content never runs out, are measures to be considered. The consultation will also examine whether Australia's social media ban for under-16s, which came into force last month, has worked so far. But this doesn't mean the UK will necessarily follow suit. Some academics and child safety campaigners fear a ban could have unintended consequences, such as tempting children into darker corners of the internet.
Recapping the top story, 2 people have been killed and several others injured following a shooting at the Boysens Magistrates Court south of Johannesburg earlier today. I'm Ondilambala for SFM News, headlines at 2:30.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. Easy to apply, no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
As the nation seeks answers, SAFM brings you live, uninterrupted coverage of Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. You can also stay up to date with the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into criminality, political interference, and corruption in the criminal justice system. Stay informed, stay connected. Tune in live on SAFM 104 to 107 and follow the coverage across our digital platforms live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAFM Radio. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
All right, Mzansi, Powerball Plus has skyrocketed. to an epic 177 million estimated jackpot this Tuesday. It's the second highest ever recorded jackpot in Ituba's history. So play now and you could win big, just like Friday's Powerball Plus winner, who bagged over 33 million via the National Lottery platform. Buy your tickets now in store or via the nationallottery.co.za website or the mobile app, cell phone banking, or you can dial star 120 star 7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusher Play players must be 18 years or older and play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
It's gone 10 past 2 o'clock as we enter the second hour of the show, and we take you back to Cape Town's Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee that's currently sitting with former IPID boss Robert McBride giving testimony in front of that committee. Let's go back there. Everything should go swimmingly now. They're back from their lunch break, and so we should have this uninterrupted broadcast until the top of the hour. Presuming that all goes well, Ashraf will be the next voice you hear. So from my end, maybe at this point we take the liberties of saying, inshallah, God willing, we do it again.
Okay, if I may proceed, then onto under this subheading of infiltration of IPID by crime intelligence, from paragraph 59 onwards.
Yes, sir.
Upon paragraph 59.
So upon my return in October 2016, I was alerted to irregularities and how investigations had been conducted during a time when I was on suspension under Mr. Khamenyani. There were allegations that certain cases have been investigated by the IPID had been prematurely closed without carrying out proper investigation process as contained in. The problem was due to infiltration by crime intelligence in the form of Brigadier Tlo Khomo, who had been appointed at IPID as a director of investigations, but took over Sissoko's position while Sissoko was suspended, acting as overall national head of investigations. So Khomo left IPID when I returned. I actually met with him and asked him, it was him and another officer, what is your role here in IPID? How did you come here? And he couldn't give an explanation properly and then didn't come back. I next saw him in Parliament together with Patlani's team defending Patlani. So it was a strange situation. I even mentioned to the chairperson, the days Khomo, they appointed him so behind me at top left-hand corner. He was in IPID and disappeared and went straight into a job in crime intelligence. So what was he doing at IPID? And there was another one, an officer there, which, if necessary, I'll talk about that afterwards. So to me, it was clear it was a stitch-up, and who knows how many others are there. But it's an old practice of disruption, sow suspicion, buy off witnesses, buy off investigators. You know, I think I watched a bit of Patlani here, and he talks about Stratcom. That's the old Stratcom of, security branch. Do it like that. They disrupt, they bribe, they cause suspicion, find comrades kill each other because someone whispered something about them. So the same kind of mentality was put against us. At the end of my affidavit, I deal with some recommendations about the mandate of counterintelligence, of crime intelligence, and a specific mandate that's given to them, which is on counterintelligence, is that they must deal with their own members, not society. That is for state security. With defense, they deal with the soldiers who are up to no good. Now, What business does crime intelligence have infiltrating other departments of the state, or spying on politicians, or trying to be of use to politicians? Once a guy owns you, he owns you. You have to do his bidding, you have to give him a position. And that's where the problem comes. So crime intelligence and the control of that fund makes crime intelligent people invincible. And they start to manipulate. And we've seen it with loads of issues. That's what they do, and that's, I would appeal to the legislators, the representatives of the people to correct that as quickly as possible, or provide clarity on that, because I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Ultimately, that's what it is. Homo had no reason why he should be an iPad. So Homo also plays a role during Zondo Commission. He has been recorded now telling the late Mandla Mahlangu, may his soul rest in peace, that he must make up stories against Sissoko and me. He must find something, and he will get promotion, and he mustn't worry. And it comes a lot of times. It comes to Cuba, it comes to twice to Cuba. They use carrot and stick. They first expel him, and then they try and tempt him with promotions in SAPS. So this fluidity of moving from one organization to another without any accountability is a problem, because they use it as inducement, as gratification. And I'll come later to that when we deal specifically with Cedric Ngabinde, and how the way the system is applied works really wrongly. Yeah.
Can we, because we reference a statement by...
Before we proceed, may we please take Honorable James and Honorable Skosana.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Bride, you're sharing very interesting information. Sorry to interject. You are saying, just clarity, you are saying crime intelligence and counterintelligence, two separate departments, right? And you are saying that the mandate, if I understood you correctly, you are saying that the mandate of counterintelligence is to investigate their fellow SAPS members. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am. They form part of the same department.
Okay.
So there'd be a collection, which is the collection of intelligence related to criminal activity, and then a counter, which is involved supposedly in terms of that Act of 94. So I don't want to get it wrong, Chair, again.
Sorry, Mr. McBride, let me just finish my question and then you can answer me. So counterintelligence, in my understanding, you're correct when you say, I also have that understanding that it's a department mandated to investigate members within SAPS. And then we have this task team that was formed, that's been part of this committee, the work that we're probing, counterintelligence that was established. So we had PKTT and the other task team was counterintelligence. And you just said now that counterintelligence has no business investigating other cases that involve sort of civil society. Did I hear you correctly?
That's correct, ma'am.
So you're saying that the counterintelligence that was composed of General Kumalo and others that was investigating the likes of Kat Matlala, they had no business investigating that cartel?
Honourable Member, there is collections that do it, which is a much bigger department than counterintelligence, which is there specifically for the criminals. That is crime intelligence overall. There's a collection section and an analysis section. Their job is to collect evidence, to run operations on criminal activity. But the counterintelligence part is to look at when their own members get compromised by their criminal networks or by criminals. That's the job, to keep, as it were, the water pure. So it's not crime intelligence, it's counterintelligence people who must deal with civilians and other departments. It's the collection section. And they have a big budget for it to run that. So to put it under counterintelligence, I think is acting out of their mandate, in my opinion. So that needs to be clarified and fixed. It can't be willy-nilly. So defense intelligence is about, defense intelligence, counterintelligence is about soldiers. And with civilians, the agency, state security must deal with civilians who are unpatriotic. Sometimes they can do joint operations. The counterintelligence of the two services. But they have a big collection section which deals with collection on intelligence on criminals. That is crime intelligence's collection section.
Honorable James, what is the answer to your question?
I'm settled, I'm covered. Thank you, Chair. I understand. I just needed to understand the difference and the mandate of the different departments, units within SAPS. Thanks.
Okay. Honorable Skosana.
Thank you, Chair. I just want clarity from Mr. McBride, our witness here. What is the name of Hamunyane?
Israel, Ketsabai.
What is it?
His first name is Israel, his second name is Ketsabai.
Oh, okay, because when I look here, I've tried to look for it, and I could not get the name correctly. So he was when you said here, when you arrived, he left.
Yeah, so he was there already. He was the provincial head of Free State. And in fact, at some stage, he was put in a task teams again, for Marikana investigation before I arrived. And but when I was on suspension, he was put in my place to act as executive director. And the moment when I returned, he didn't come to work again.
So in other words, you are saying he was seconded because you say he was based in Free State, am I right?
Well, he was a provincial head of IPID in Free State.
And then he came to act
in my position, yes.
Yeah, hence I'm saying he was seconded because he was a provincial head, am I right?
He was substituting whilst I was on suspension.
Yeah. So thank you, Chair. It will come when we have questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted some clarity on the spear and Dromat, whether the spear that we're talking about here is the same as General Spear that actually was here before.
Yes, Honorable Mwangwe, it's General Shadrach Sibia.
Is him the Sibia that you know, Honorable Mwango?
Well, it would appear it is the same spear that I know.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's proceed, Advocate.
On crime intelligence and alleged infiltration by crime intelligence, can I refer you to the evidence? The affidavit or statement of
Advocate Arens and Mr. McBride. I'm bringing this information to your attention that the people of South Africa say they want to hear you.
Hear me?
When you speak, both of you.
Mr. McBride, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On the infiltration by crime intelligence, may I refer to the sworn statement of Mandla Yekizo Mashlangu, which is at page 66 of the annexure of the bundle. It's annexure RJM3A.
Yes, sir, I have it.
It's dated the 25th of May 2018. Just before we go into the contents of that affidavit, what happened to him?
Well, I will come to it later, but Mandla had faced a number of threats, and in short, he was murdered. He was murdered after he made a particular statement incriminating one of the people who testified here.
Has his murder been resolved? Has anyone been brought to account?
In my view, partly. 2 suspects were arrested, prosecuted successfully. In their testimony, they said police paid them to commit the murder.
Okay. You don't have a exact reference of that
No, I
case
don't,
that
I
we
don't
could
have it. It
perhaps...
was kept so quiet in the media at that stage. It was just closed at that stage.
Now, if we go to page 66,
Yes, sir.
You'll see there that he says that he was the principal investigator of IPID then, and that he was the former lead investigator in the case involving General Pashlani relating to a charge of fraud, corruption, and money laundering, and hence his involvement. My colleague, Advocate Mkhize, is going to deal in a bit more detail with the Pashlani and Kabindi matters. But I just want to focus on the other allegations. In paragraph 4, he says, during the month of March 2018, I was approached by a member of crime intelligence who requested to see me in connection with recruiting me to SAPS. And I remember very well because I also recorded the meeting. The recording was also transcribed and it's annexed to his affidavit. The person who called me was Brigadier Khomo, who was previously a member of the IPID. He promised me a brigadier position in the SAPS, in crime intelligence, and indicated that it is facilitated at the highest level in the police. There are a number of subsequent calls, which one of them was recorded after the initial recording and will also be attached after they have been transcribed. I have then informed Nkabinde about me being approached by the crime intelligence, and he told me that he was also approached. He further said to me, we rather go and work for SAPS because we are not appreciated at IPID. After I was approached by Brigadier Khomo, I informed Mr. Sissoko, the National Head of Investigation, and the Executive Director, Mr. McBride. I also want to respond in my statement to a letter of April 2018 that's relating to Nkabinde, which my colleague will also deal with. So just to pause there, Mr. McBride, this approach to the late Mr. Mashlangu, and he also alleges that Nkabinde was approached by Brigadier Khomo and that he conveyed it to you and to Mr. Siseko.
That's correct, sir. Indeed, he did.
What was your response? What was your reaction?
I then called a meeting with the task team because I had been receiving quite a lot of reports that this was taking place, to ascertain how we can mitigate the situation, how we can salvage it. And I asked everyone to acknowledge that they were approached and an improper offer was made. And Mandla stood up and he acknowledged he was approached. He says, by who? Nkabinde didn't stand up. Cedric didn't stand up at all. And yet there's quite a lot on Cedric already, who he's meeting with. At that stage, Cedric had been meeting with suspects already. And later on, he gets suspended and all of that. But at this stage, March, so in January, he meets with a number of suspects who are co-defendants, if I can use that word, with Patlane at the moment. But he was meeting him for no apparent reason. And in a run-up to July, where he deposed a statement in support of Patlane, he was meeting with Patlane. And the actual places where they meet, I think, might be in the bundle. But that's going to form part of evidence which Patlane has to answer for. In any event, they met regularly, and they also met with Patlane's lawyer. And then he started countering. And one must bear in mind, and I'll talk to it later, lead investigator on the Patlane matter was Cedric Nkabinde himself. So this 180 degrees is very strange setup. I'm sorry if I'm going too fast.
I think if you don't mind, if you could just flag it and pause there on that. I just want to deal with this issue. If you go to page 537, that is the affidavit of Mr. Mashlangu, and then he attaches, it's not quite there, the recordings that he refers to. And this affidavit, I don't know if you can help us. I see it's filed in that case number, Pretoria Central case number. Can you see that at 537?
1 second, sir. Okay, I have it. Yes, I see it, sir. He's confirming the transcribed version of the conversation that he had with Homo, which he refers to earlier.
Okay.
And that was for the transcribers to, I think, identify the speakers.
And then there's a handwritten affidavit. That's part of the, looks like the criminal docket. At 539 at the top, you can see that he talks about recording the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, sir, during Zondo Commission, for example, the live recording, the audio was played before Judge Zondo. So it was played for them to hear. And having interacted with Homo, it was clearly his voice, in addition to what the transcribers confirmed.
Yeah. And on page 540, there's a list of questions which may be of much interest to honorable members of the committee. Who would have asked those questions?
So this was what Homo and Ngube from Mabula team asked to Mandla in the presence of Mashukha, and also indicated that the statement must answer these questions, and where there was no answer or not a likelihood, they must create an answer. So that's what I understand from this. That's the purpose of this. So this was done between crime intelligence, Ngube, and and Mashuka, the prosecutor who's now retired. Funny enough, when I had to testify in a case where he was the prosecutor, he then resigned and no longer prosecuted the case.
Chair. Sorry. I don't know what's the fight between Mr. McBride and the mic. There seems to be a serious war between him and that mic. You see, it's looking on the other way, and he's looking on the other way. Can you mind your mic, please, Mr. McBride? If we are struggling to hear Tina in the chamber, how much to those who are listening from home?
Okay.
I plead you with that. Thank you.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, very well.
Thanks.
Yeah, Mr. McBride, this is the last time we talk about the microphone.
Sorry, sir, just on that. If I make a mistake on the microphone and I'm turning away, what happens then? I just want to be clear about this, sir.
The chairperson is saying this is the last time we talk about the microphone. And what the chairperson is saying is that look at Advocate Arendse and proceed.
Understood, sir.
May I proceed, Honourable Chair? Thank you. Just on the crime intelligence aspect still, can I ask you to go to Annexure RJM 3 small b, which is on page 107. That is an affidavit by Ambulani Innocent Kuba. What 107. This is an affidavit he deposed to. Is that in? Is that, it can't be, it says 16 January 2026. Or it must be 2016.
It's 2016.
26. Oh, is it this year?
Yeah, so he confirmed a previous
Yeah, this is the one, sorry, at 109. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
At 109, thank you.
So he confirmed the previous unsigned one, which was submitted to some investigation carried out by Zondo Commission. So, in which the signed version is with the Zondo Commission.
So at 107, is this the same Kuba who had also done the March rendition report?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he says that in October 2020, I deposed to an affidavit providing details on the meeting between Lieutenant General Mkwanazi and I, which was arranged by General Nematanzela of Crime Intelligence. The affidavit was drafted through the help of Advocate Ali SC, who was at the time assisting the Zondo Commission, and the attached draft unsigned is attached as HK1. That's the one that starts at 109. I think 108 is missing from the bundle. Have you got 108?
I have 108 is where the 16th of January 2026 one was commissioned.
Yeah. And it's in the soft copy. And he says on 23 October 2020 at 19:53, Advocate Ali sent an email containing 2 attachments of the affidavits drafted during our consultation, which took place the same month. These draft affidavits had no material differences except that the other was refined and had extensive track changes in which Advocate requested me to attach proof or provide clarity. The affidavit was subsequently signed during our follow-up consultation. So he says, presumably when you tried to obtain this affidavit, they was unable to locate the signed copy.
The signed copy, yes, indeed. That's why there was a request that he must confirm this is the one he deposed.
So at 109, he says at paragraph 3, I have made 2 statements in the investigation of a criminal case against former National Commissioner of the SAPS, Lieutenant General Pashlani, and he cites the Pretoria Central case number. The present affidavit must be read in conjunction with those statements. In February 2018, I received several telephone calls from Major General Nematanzela of Crime Intelligence. He stated that he wanted to introduce me to a person in Sandton who had information relating to, and there's a, is that omission there, is that intentional? Relating to, there's a space. You don't know what that refers to. He says, I knew General Nematanzela because I had previously obtained a statement from him when investigating the rendition matter. I agreed to the meeting but did not want to meet in Sandton. I suggested that the meeting take place in Pretoria. General Nematanzela provided me with the details of the venue, which turned out to be a 5-star hotel past Menlyn. I don't recall the name of the hotel, but I'll find the name for you because I recall where it was. I traveled to the venue together with 2 of my IPID investigators, Mr. Matlakeng and Mr. Gibson. We had some difficulty locating the venue. I received several calls from General Nematanzela to give me the directions. We kept getting lost. My cell phone records can be used to identify the date, time, and venue of the meeting. I eventually found the venue and then needed to phone Nematanzela to find out where he was in the hotel. He directed me to the lobby. It was dusk when I arrived. I imagine it was approximately 1800 hours. Gibson and Matlakeng remained in the vehicle while I went in to meet with Nematanzela and his anonymous witness. I did not tell him anything about what had been discussed in the meeting. Tell them, sorry. I went straight to Mr. Sissoko's office.
Sorry.
Nematanzela and I remained in the lobby while we waited for the anonymous witness. Sorry, at 110, eh? We had 110.
Yes, I have that.
Yeah. He was in telephonic discussion with the witness. In one of his discussions with this person, I recall him explaining that we, quote, we are already seated here waiting for you. Nematanzela and I had drinks, juice, while we waited for the anonymous witness. After one of his calls, Nematanzela said to me that we could go now. We took the lift and went to one of the floors. I do not recall which floor it was. When we got out of the lift, I saw Lieutenant General Mkwanazi. I immediately recognized him. I had interviewed him in the rendition matter. Mkwanazi asked us to switch off our cell phones and to hand them to him. He took the phones and placed them in an adjacent room. Present in the meeting were General Mkwanazi, Nematanzela, and me. I do not recall precisely how long the meeting lasted. I imagine it took approximately 1 to 1.5 hours. I was present in the meeting with Mkwanazi and Nematanzela. Mkwanazi started the meeting by talking about politics. He later explained that there were 2 IPID officials who had given Section 204 statements, Nkabinde and Mashlangu. 204 of the Criminal Procedure Act deals with witnesses who are themselves implicated in criminal wrongdoing, who have agreed to testify on behalf of the state against an accomplice. Mkwanazi asked me for information that could implicate McBride in criminal wrongdoing involving Mr. Paul O'Sullivan. He wanted to know what they were involved in and how they were involved. I explained to him that I did not spend time with McBride socially and was accordingly not in a position to provide him with details of McBride's relationship with O'Sullivan. I should emphasize that at no point did he suggest that I should lie. Mkwanazi said I would have taken that I would be taken care of. That who held the post of chief director, which would be at the rank of Major General in SAPS, would be promoted to the rank of Lieutenant General, which was on the same rank as him. Mkwanazi indicated that both Nkabinde and Mashlangu would also be promoted into higher ranks within the SAPS because of their cooperation. He explained that one of them had not yet signed. When I was leaving, he said I should think about it. He said he was meeting with Nkabinde and Mashlangu later that evening. I imagine that the meeting ended between 1900 or 2000. I traveled back to the office of Mr. Sissoko, who was waiting for me. We discussed a lot about whether it was true that these two IPID officials had turned Section 204. We got the sense that Mkwanazi was trying to fish to get me to tell him what I knew. My sense was that he wanted to give the impression that he already knew that I should tell him, since the information would already be shared by my officials. I went to check at the hotel room of Nkabinde. I knocked on his door and he did not answer. I phoned Siseko and said he might be true. This might be true because Nkabinde was not there. We were staying in the same hotel. At 2400 hours or 1 o'clock in the morning, I heard Nkabinde returning to his room. I told myself I was not going to sleep until he returned. We had an adjacent room. I heard him enter the room and turn his TV on. I sent Sissoko a message saying he was just there. Mashlangu later told Sissoko that he had been approached. I think Sissoko and McBride, who were called into a meeting to find out if anyone was approached. Mashlangu confirmed that he had been approached, and he said he had been approached by Homo. I was expecting him to include Mkwanazi, but he did not mention Mkwanazi. On the one occasion, he got angry with me for mentioning Mkwanazi because he made it clear that he was a family friend. He did not want to mention the name of Mkwanazi. So this is still on the aspect of some influence by crime intelligence or alleged influence. We'll deal in more detail with Nkabinde. Now, the mention of General Mkwanazi, is this the same as General Mkwanazi, who made a media statement on the 6th of July last year?
Indeed, it's just the same Mkwanazi, yes.
Now, yeah, just on a personal level, you deal with General Mkwanazi on page 7, paragraph 26.
1 second, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you want to deal with
Yes.
that? Or you can read it into the record.
So paragraph 26 on page 27 of the affidavit. I'll now turn to General Mkwanazi. I do not know General Mkhwanazi, except I have previously encountered him in a meeting when former Minister Nkosinathi Nhleko introduced himself to the SAP senior management and the entities. So IPID, SIRA were regarded as entities. From memory, General Mkhwanazi was whining about not being given work and responsibility, and his whining was directed at National Commissioner Ria Piecha. From my time at IPID, I'm aware of an incident, it should be incidents, there's a few of them, where General Mkhwanazi played an undue and prosecutable role in trying to disrupt and scuttle IPID's investigation into General Patlani with Brigadier Klo Homo of Crime Intelligence and others. To that end, I attach an effort by Mahlangu, marked RJM3A. Mahlangu's affidavit deals with his personal knowledge of interference by SAPS members. I pause to mention that Mahlangu was subsequently murdered in 2020 after filing this statement, which was also going to be used in a disciplinary proceedings against Homo. The only other time I got to hear about General Mkhwanazi's name is when IPID was investigating what we call IVU 3, allegations of corruption in the procurement of bulletproof vests. The allegation was that the bulletproof vests procurement was inflated and there was a move to procure more vests at the same time as inflated prices. If I can just pause there to elaborate on something. General Mkhwanazi was a close friend of the Mahlangu family. He was very close to Mandla. They attended soccer matches together. And when Mandla was shot at the first time, after receiving all the threats, General Mkhwanazi was first on the scene. When Mandla was murdered at his small holding, the first person outside the small holding to be on the scene was General Mkhwanazi. Yet General Mkhwanazi does not mention or take the committee into confidence of completeness. In both this inquiry and the Madlanga, he understates his knowledge of Mahlangu. Furthermore, he does not attend the funeral of Mahlangu, even though he's a close family friend. So I find it a bit strange, but that's not the issue really. I mean, it's that is clear, everybody knows it. So Patlani and Mkhwanazi are very close. Mkhwanazi looked after Patlani and in an attempt to disrupt the investigation. He was in HR. What's he doing inquiring about investigations?
Okay. Do you or did you know General Khumalo, Dumisani Khumalo?
No, I didn't know him at all. Didn't know him at all. The only instance where his name came up is the former mayor of Newcastle, Dr. Mahlaba, came to my office and complained that the then brigadier was harassing them and was torturing his bodyguards or something like that. And he wanted to complain about it. So the case was given to the same Mandla Mahlangu. And I didn't hear much about it, except last night I heard that there was some settlement between SAPS and Dr. Mahlaba. So Dr. Mahlaba was a high-profile person and the mayor of Newcastle, and later on became an MEC of two portfolios in KZN.
Okay. You refer to that at page 7 of your affidavit. You don't otherwise know General Khumalo, interacted with him?
No, I haven't. I don't really know him here, except from the complaint from from Dr. Mahlaba. That's all. That's where I know him from.
And about the PKTT? You know about the PKTT?
I know nothing about PKTT. Let me just go further back. So the reason why we're here is according to terms of reference, the media conference on 6th of July last year, 2025, last year. Now, in that media conference, my name was not mentioned there. So for me, it was okay. I looked and saw it's Mkhwanazi. Seemingly, he was unhappy about the closing of PKTT and also the arrest of General Komalo. So later on in Madlanga, I don't think he mentions it again, but he drops it in passing here about iPad, about what he heard from Nkabinde. In other words, what Nkabinde told him. In other words, hearsay. And that opened the way for Nkabinde to come and testify. Yeah, the ad hoc committee. Nkabinde's testimony opened the way or the gap for Patlani to come in. So that's why I have to come here, because PKTT, I know nothing about it. I have left the criminal justice system in 2019, Chair.
Before we go to the PKTT, can we take Honorable Skosana, Honorable Nomval, Honorable Sango?
Thank you, Chair.
Wait, just a moment. And who else? Okay, it will be the three speakers.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask Mr. McBride, because I think he told us just now to say Mandla, I think is it Mandla Masango, was a friend to General Mkhwanazi. They used to go together to watch football games. And unfortunately, he was murdered. And General Mkhwanazi did not attend the funeral. And you mentioned another gentleman. You said General Mkhwanazi was the first one to be on the scene. Yeah, so what does that mean?
It's the same person.
For me, it's inconsistent with being a close friend to a person. You're on the scene when they're shot at and when they're murdered. You don't attend the funeral and you're supposed to be a close family member. So for me, it's inconsistent. So when you investigate anything, I was not investigating anymore. I was out of the criminal justice system. I noted, because it's critical, it should have been mentioned there. So it was understated. So in the same way, Chair, as some of the aspects of my CV were understated, similarly, General Mkhwanazi should be stating how well he knew Mandla Mahlangu, and that he was on the scene first on 2 occasions when Mandla was shot at, including the fatal one when Mandla was murdered. So that's what that means, Honorable.
So hence I was asking that, are you saying that General Mkhwanazi has got something to do with that? Of him, that person being shot, of him not attending the funeral?
I would say it's inconsistent, like I said earlier. I don't know whether he had something to do with it or not. There is a trail that leads back to police, but his under-mentioning of his involvement and closeness, and the fact that he was on the scene, for me is inconsistent. It needs to be looked at.
So you did attend the funeral of Mahlangu?
Yes.
So
Sorry?
You did attend that?
Yes, I spoke at you.
Okay, so General Mkhwanazi was not there?
He was not there. Mzwaki Mbuli was there also. And by the way, Mzwaki was also close to Cedric, because when I attended Cedric's mother's unveiling, Mzwaki Mbuli was there also in Kwamashu.
No, I think you are providing more details than is necessary. the honorable member was asking you about the shooting and the funeral, and I think you need to say it, Mr. McBride, that the name that you are mentioning of Mzwakhe Mbuli is not in any way related to our proceedings. Can you say that?
Thank you, Chair. Except that if I omitted it, some notable
unless
persons.
you want to mention a list of other people who were there. You can imagine where he's sitting saying, but why am I being mentioned for being at the funeral?
Well, he is my friend. He can talk to me.
Yeah, I can also say they say that he's my friend and he did not expect you to mention that. Especially that it's only him alone in a list of many monarchs that could have been there.
Sir, I didn't want to run the risk of under-mentioning stuff when it was so obvious, and I thought it's important at the time I testified to that fact.
Yeah, I'm just saying that wherever he is, if he's following the proceedings.
Stay tuned to SAFM coming up.
Yes, we'll certainly get back to the big news of the day just now. But let me remind you, as far as the news goes, SFM News and with Momentum, those with financial advisors have a better shot at generational wealth. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor for advice that meets your context. So, 3 o'clock, here's the news with Ondela Mbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the top stories, police investigate shooting outside the Boysens Magistrate Court and Trump reaffirms his desire to take over Greenland. For SFM News, I am Ondela Mbana and a very good afternoon. Gauteng authorities say resources have been mobilized following a shooting at the Boysens Magistrate Court that left 2 people dead and 3 others injured. The group was allegedly attending court in support of an accused in an attempted murder case linked to an April 2025 incident in Mondio. One of the wounded has been confirmed as the accused lawyer. Gauteng police spokesperson Brenda Moridili says the motive remains unknown.
The police's serious and violent crime investigations from the provincial office will be investigating a case of 2 counts of murder and 3 counts of attempted murder.
The case of 8 Milnerton High School learners charged with assault with the intent to do grievous bodily harm has been postponed until the 11th of March in the Cape Town Magistrates Court. The case follows a video which went viral in October last year showing learners allegedly assaulting a grade 10 learner. The learners were suspended and the Western Cape Education Department says the school disciplinary committee has recommended that 6 of the 8 be expelled. The recommendation for one of the learners is still pending. Western Cape NPA spokesperson Eric Ntabazalila says the counts relate to 8 victims at various occasions at the same school.
We could not consult with the victims during the period because they had to go for counselling and there were exams that took place. We'll also need to download the photographs from their cell phones. So we'll come back on the 11th of March to deal with that. Yes, we can confirm that there was a ban on their details, that is their names and home addresses, in order to protect them as well as their families. You'll remember some of them are minors and some of them are still school-going learners.
8 people have died in flood-related incidents since heavy rain started in December in Limpopo. Disaster management spokesperson Tsakani Baloyi says 6 people are still missing. The incidents were reported at all 5 districts in the province. Mkateko Chauke reports.
The number of flood deaths is expected to increase in Limpopo. The disaster management teams are continuing with the search for 6 people who were swept away by overflowing rivers. 2 boys were swept away in Slater River outside Palawura on Sunday. A 5-year-old boy was swept away at Mbawula village outside Guyane, and 3 people remain missing after a buggy they were traveling in was overwhelmed by a river at Tringa village near Twando. The Disaster Management Center says some of the deaths were caused